Hey everybody, welcome back to Cosmic Life Astrology. Today I'm going to talk about the week of March 17th through the 24th, and I'm calling this week the week of realizations. As I unpack the day-to-day transits, you'll understand why I'm calling it that, because we have a lot of energy that's pointing us in that direction to understand things before we reach that Libra Lunar Eclipse next week. And so let's get started. On Sunday, we're going to see the Sun make a conjunction to Neptune at 27 degrees of Pisces. And when the Sun conjuncts another planet, it's going to reset that planet's energy. So with the Sun conjunct Neptune, we're talking about lifting the veil and seeing clearly through the fog, revealing truths, an ability to tap into intuition and receive divine guidance. Your dream state may be more vivid during this time. And you could also feel very drained and have a desire to basically retreat and pull your energy back and escape reality. And if that's how you feel, then honor it, because that's what you're being called to do. And you may need to do that for a reason. On Monday, we're going to see Mercury make a conjunction to the North Node in Aries at 15 degrees of Aries. And so this is especially important to pay attention to, because we're going to see Mercury hit that 15-degree mark again during the Mercury retrograde period. And then when Mercury goes direct, we're going to see it hit 15 degrees as well. So whatever information or communications that take place on Monday, we're going to take a look at it a couple of times. And, being that we're in the Mercury shadow period, there's even more of a need to pay attention to things that are coming to your awareness, because that's what you're going to be addressing during the retrograde cycle. So if it's not information or communication that comes to you, it could be a person that you run into, and you run into them for a reason. Pay attention to what happens on Monday, because Mercury is also going to make a semi-sextile to Jupiter. So when I see this, intuitively I feel with that semi-sextile involved, there is divine wisdom to whatever's coming to your awareness on Monday. On Tuesday, we're going to see the moon in Leo make an opposition to Pluto in Aquarius. And when we're talking about the Leo Aquarius axis, we're talking about a head versus heart situation. And when we're talking about the moon opposing Pluto, we're looking at very potent emotions and possibly triggering emotions. There could be a situation where wounds get triggered, or fears, or even trauma can be triggered by this. And this could also be, where deep-seated emotions that have been buried have to come up and be addressed for a reason. There's definitely a struggle with this kind of energy, and it can be, a test of, what or who you've been loyal to, making an opposition to who you're surrounding yourself with. So this could be a very tumultuous energy. With Pluto opposing the moon, it very well could be a power struggle as well. On Wednesday, we're going to see the Sun enter Aries, and we'll officially begin Aries season. And as the Sun enters Aries, we're going to see the Sun make a sextile to Pluto. So it's as if, whatever got triggered or, brought to light from the moon opposing Pluto Now the sun comes in, makes a sextile to Pluto and saying, hey, whatever was brought to your awareness, where do you now need to see that things have to change, right? We're talking about the sun in Aries, which is focusing on the self, making a positive connection to Pluto, who wants death and rebirth. So, there could be an illumination of where you need to make changes within yourself, okay? And the ability to make a deep-rooted change within yourself. At the same time, we're going to see Mercury make a conjunction to Chiron. And this will play out through Friday. And with the Mercury-Chiron conjunction, we're again looking at a potential for healing communication, or it could be communication that can trigger some wounds. There's, a dualistic energy at play. So, it really depends on what's going on in your life, and how it'll play out for you, is going to differ. But when this happens, it's also going to trine the moon in Leo. So there'll be an opportunity for your heart space to be honored, or your emotions to be honored with this Mercury conjunct Chiron. It's like we're being asked to do some healing that is heart-centered, right? Then on Thursday, we're going to see Venus conjunct Saturn at 12 degrees of Pisces. And I mentioned this in my Venus and Pisces video, that when this happens, I see this as a reality check for Venus, because Venus loves being in Pisces, and Venus is very dreamy and romantic, and, she just loves the Pisces energy because, it allows her to, dream of beautiful things, dream of love and creativity and, what she wants out of money. And with Venus conjuncting Saturn, it's as if Saturn's the gatekeeper to those dreams, and is, kind of halting Venus and saying, hey, does this have substance? Is this really real? Is there potential for longevity in what you're dreaming up? And as this happens, they're also making an opposition to Black Moon Lilith in Virgo, as well as Juno retrograde in Virgo. And so seeing the opposition take place at the same time, let's break it down. Venus and Saturn opposing Black Moon Lilith can very well be a test of real love, and where we may be deceiving in love, or may be getting deceived in love, because Lilith is an energy that brings up fear and deception. And when we're talking about an opposition from Lilith to Venus, it's definitely a test of, and a potential for being deceived in love. And Saturn is, the Lord of Karma. He's not going to stand for any kind of deception. He's going to say, wait a minute, let's put a stop to this, and reveal what needs to be revealed, because Saturn wants things that are long-term. And with the opposition to Juno retrograde in Virgo, we're also taking a look at our commitments. And Juno retrograde in Virgo has been happening since January, and is looking at the details of our commitments. So this opposition is warranting a need to look at the details, and a need to pay attention to details to see where we may be deceiving ourselves, or where we may have been deceived by others, or see fears that we may have in association with our commitments. This can be a very hard energy to navigate with Venus and Saturn conjuncting each other alone, let alone them making that opposition to Black Moon Lilith and Juno retrograde. But, you know, anything that happens that is very heavy energy, it's happening for a reason. You know, the universe has been saying to us for quite some time, especially in the past 5 years, we're not going to allow anything that isn't real and doesn't have substance and doesn't have a firm foundation. We've seen it historically happen over and over through astrology, how this is playing out in our individual worlds and, you know, our society. So whatever comes up, you know, I would try to refrain from allowing it to overcome you, and take it as a opportunity to really know what's real in your life and what does have longevity. And whatever doesn't have the potential for a longevity will be cleared so you can have something that has that long-term stability potential in your life. And while this is happening, we're also seeing Mars at 29 degrees of Aquarius opposing the moon in Leo. And again, we're looking at an opposition between the Leo-Aquarius axis, again, igniting the head versus heart. And when we're talking about the 29th degree, in any sign, that's an anaretic degree. So it's a final closing, right? And so, you know, Mars, the planet of action and passion, making an opposition to the moon in Leo, you know, where our actions and our passions have been ignited, is basically squaring off with where our heart space is at. You know, it's challenging our heart space and, you know, asking us to basically close out and move on to, you know, a new energy. So again, we're looking at a emotional heart space challenge on Thursday, you know, between the Venus and Saturn conjunction and the oppositions that they're making and Mars opposing the moon. You know, this part of the week is going to be a challenge. On Friday, we're going to see the moon in Virgo conjunct Juno retrograde in Virgo. And the moon in Virgo is looking at the details. And with Juno retrograde in Virgo, we're looking at the details of our commitments, okay? We're looking at the facts. Virgo is all fact-based, you know, very detail-oriented. They want to know everything about everything before they do anything or make any decisions. You know, they're a very stable earth sign. And, you know, they are Mercury ruled. So they like to communicate and get information about what it is that they're doing. So, you know, when we have the moon make that conjunction to Juno retrograde, with Juno retrograde more so, this is definitely a test of our commitments. You know, we're looking at where our emotions lie and where the facts of the matter lie as well. And, you know, we're seeing a lot of energy building up about our relationships right before a Libra lunar eclipse, which is all about relationships as well. And the saving grace that we'll see is Mars entering Pisces. And I say it's a saving grace because Mars in Pisces is a spiritual warrior. He's going to fight for what's right. And, you know, whether that's what's right for himself or what's right for his life or, you know, what he's being driven towards. And we'll also see Venus make a sextile to Jupiter. And so Venus sextiling Jupiter, they are both in a mutual reception to each other because Venus is in Pisces, which is Jupiter is the ancient ruler of Pisces. And with Jupiter being in Taurus, Venus rules Taurus. So it's a very positive aspect with Jupiter and Venus making a sextile to each other. And they are both benefics. And so I see this as a potential for greater wisdom and hopeful energy, and even the potential for healing, and, learning the beauty and spiritual lessons, because we're talking about Venus and Pisces, who sees the beauty in everything. And, Jupiter, who is, very philosophical and, is a teacher of the zodiac. And I think this will be, kind of a light at the end of the tunnel that, you're able, even as hard as the other energy may have been, you're able to see a light at the end of the tunnel, or see something benefic that you can take away from what you experienced. And we're also going to see on the same day, on Saturday, the moon in Virgo make a trine to Uranus. And this can be hard to predict because we're talking about Uranus, who's unpredictable. As I've said in other videos, we don't know what Uranus is going to bring, so you have to expect the unexpected. And with the moon making a trine to Uranus, this could be a sudden change in how you feel about something. With the moon in Virgo, we're still looking at the details of our emotions, and we're looking at, Virgo very much loves the home. So we could be very much home-based and home-focused. And that trine to Uranus could bring shocking energy, but with a trine, it's a very favorable aspect. It brings opportunity. You may want to take a look at where Virgo and Taurus land in your chart, because there can be an opportunity for more grounding emotions, or changes in your emotions towards whatever those houses symbolize for you. And it's also an opportunity to look at the details of whatever it is you're trying to change or revolutionize in your life as well, with Uranus involved. And then on Sunday, we have the moon in Virgo make an opposition to Neptune in Pisces. And so this is like the final chapter of looking at the facts versus the dreams. Again, we're talking moon in Virgo, looking at the facts of our emotions, opposing the dreamy Neptune in Pisces energy. So there's definitely, a need to be clear on what it is you're dealing with. It's an opportunity to also realize where you may have been disillusioned. Okay. It is, a potential energy of disappointments as well. And so on Sunday, we're going to see this energy play out. And some of the other energy that I spoke about will play out throughout the weekend, because of the planets being, still within a few degrees of each other, and some of the sextiles and oppositions and whatnot will be felt throughout the later half of the week. And this is why I call it the week of realizations. We are definitely being tested this week on our heart space, on our commitments, on the love that we have, what we're giving our energy towards, and the facts and what's real. You know, we're being tested on what our dreams are, what our visions are, and what's the reality that we're dealing with. You know, this can bring a need to face reality so we can go towards something of more substance, especially with an eclipse coming right after all of this. An eclipse is, you know, unpredictable and shocking in its own right, and does bring a culmination and a closing out and a need to let go. We've seen glimpses of this building up throughout the week. And, you know, we're all being guided, you know, in whatever areas this is affecting you in your life. It is primarily relationship based, you know, whether it's love relationships or friendships or your family relationships or your work relationships. You know, it really depends on where this lands in your chart. That'll help show you what kind of relationships are really in focus right now. But we're all being guided to really see the reality in our relationships and clear out what's not serving us. And, you know, that will pave the way for us to be more in line with what does serve us. So look at it as an opportunity, even if there's disappointments along the way. You know, with every ending comes a new beginning. And so here we are. Eclipse season is right after this. You know, the energy is already building up for the lunar eclipse. And then 2 weeks later, we have a solar eclipse. So we do have opportunity for change. And there's a lot of favorable things that are lining up with these eclipses alone to make those changes for the better. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I know it was a lot to unpack, a lot of details. There's something every day this week, but forewarned is forearmed. So I hope you found this helpful so you can navigate the day-to-day, and I'll be back with more. Have a great week.